Zack's ASMR. Tonight, we're talking about superheroes. Not their powers, not their gadgets, not even their greatest battles. Instead, we're talking about something far more difficult. Building an entire cinematic universe. And while we explore the current state of DC, I'll be attempting to remember how to play Batman and Injustice 2. Now I should probably warn everyone watching, it's been a while since I've played this game. So if you notice me throwing the same exact combo and spamming the batarang, that's why. Fortunately, with me doing this, that gives us plenty of time to relax and discuss one of the most fascinating moments in DC's history. Because for the first time in many years, DC is trying to start over. Again. For years, Marvel became the example everyone wanted to follow. A connected universe, long-term planning, characters moving between movies, stories building toward larger events. DC wanted something similar. But the journey was never quite that simple. Some films were loved, some were divisive, others felt as though they belonged to completely different universes. Sometimes Batman looked like the future of the franchise. Other times it felt like everything was changing again. For fans, it became confusing, not because the characters weren't interesting, but because the roadmap wasn't very clear. Love it or dislike it, Zack Snyder created a vision. It had a distinct identity. His Superman felt larger than life. His Batman was older, more brutal, more cynical. Wonder Woman became one of the highlights of the entire universe. The films shared a consistent visual language, dark shadows, large-scale mythology, biblical imagery, heroes who often felt the legends instead of ordinary people. Some fans absolutely loved that direction. Others wanted something lighter, more hopeful, more colorful. But whether someone enjoyed the Snyder era or not, it had an identity. You knew what kind of world you were entering. Then everything changed. Studios changed. Plans changed. Movies were delayed. Some projects continued. Others quietly disappeared. Characters returned. Then they didn't. Announcements arrived. Announcements were canceled. For a while, being a DC fan felt like trying to solve a puzzle without knowing whether all the pieces were even inside the box. Eventually, James Gunn was chosen to lead DC Studios, and immediately fans began asking the same question: what stays? What goes? And perhaps the biggest question of all, what exactly counts as canon? Because starting over sounds simple until you realize millions of fans already care about the characters who came before. One thing became clear: Superman would lead the new universe, not Batman, not Wonder Woman, not the Justice League. Superman. That decision actually makes a great deal of sense, because Superman represents hope, optimism, kindness, the belief that power should exist to help others. If you're beginning an entirely new universe, there may not be a better foundation. And from everything James Gunn has discussed, it seems that this Superman is intended to feel very different from the previous versions. Not better, not worse, simply different. But then there's Batman. This is where things become interesting, because Batman already exists. Sort of. Matt Reeves created one of the most praised Batman films in years. A grounded detective story. A young Bruce Wayne still learning what Batman actually means. It wasn't trying to build a shared universe. It simply wanted to tell a Batman story. And it succeeded. Critics liked it. Fans liked it. The atmosphere felt unique. Gotham felt alive. The mystery worked. So now we have an unusual situation. both need to exist at the same time. Meanwhile, I'm still missing constant combos. It's happening over and over. So it looks like I'm spamming the batarangs, but it's really me trying to perfect my timing. The rise of Zack Snyder's cinematic universe, the transition to new leadership, and with James Gunn's vision for a completely new beginning. Is this actually going to fit together? And while we discussed the question, I'll continue doing my best to convince everyone watching that I actually know how to play as Batman. Perhaps the biggest question surrounding DC today is Batman. Not because people don't love Batman, quite the opposite. Batman may be the single most important comic book character DC has. The challenge is that there are now two different versions moving forward. One exists inside Matt Reeves' grounded universe. The other will eventually join James Gunn's shared DCU. To longtime comic readers, this probably isn't especially strange. Comic books have explored multiple universes for decades. Different Earths, different timelines, different versions of familiar heroes. But for movie audiences are different. Not everyone reads comics. Some viewers simply want to know which Batman belongs to which story. That will become one of DC's biggest challenges. Not making great Batman movies, but making sure everyone understands which Batman they're watching and from what universe. One reason Matt Reeves' Batman worked so well was because it wasn't trying to set up 20 future movies. It focused on one city, one detective, one mystery. The film felt patient, quiet, sometimes uncomfortable. It spent time allowing Gotham to become a character instead of simply a backdrop. Bruce Wayne wasn't the finished product either. He still made mistakes. He still had much to learn. And perhaps that's why the movie connected with so many people. It wasn't Batman at the peak of his career. It was Batman discovering what Batman should become. James Gunn's Batman appears to be heading in a very different direction. Instead of introducing a young Bruce Wayne the plan is expected to feature an experienced Bruce Wayne alongside a Damian Wayne. For viewers who may not know Damian, he is, and spoiler alert, Bruce Wayne's biological son. A character raised by the League of Assassins. Highly skilled, highly intelligent, and perhaps one of the most stubborn members of the Bat family. His relationship with Bruce is fascinating, because Batman is attempting to teach discipline to someone who already believes that he knows everything. It creates a very different family dynamic than audiences have ever seen before. One thing I've always appreciated about Batman is that his world has grown far beyond one hero. Robin, Nightwing, Batgirl, Red Hood, another Robin, Oracle, Alfred, and you can keep going on and on. Commissioner Gordon, Catwoman, Poison Ivy, the Court of Owls. Batman doesn't simply have villains, he has an entire ecosystem. And perhaps James Gunn wants to explore that larger Bat family rather than telling another origin story. Honestly, I think it's refreshing. We all know what happened to Bruce Wayne's parents. At this point, even Batman probably says, yeah, I think we've seen everything. While Batman often represents fear, discipline, and preparation, Superman represents hope. The difference is important, because James Gunn's new universe appears to be built around optimism. A Superman who inspires instead of intimidates. One who reminds people that kindness isn't weakness. It may seem like a small change, but tone matters. Especially when you're asking audiences to shared universe. Another question that remains, where does Wonder Woman fit into all this? She has always been one of DC's pillars, alongside Batman and Superman, yet her future still feels less certain than the other two. That uncertainty extends to several other heroes as well. Will the Flash return? How will Aquaman fit into the future? What happened to Shazam, Blue Beetle, Peacemaker, Creature Commandos? Will some places remain? Will others change? It's understandable why some fans still have questions. For years, DC was constantly compared to Marvel. Every movie, every trailer, every casting announcement, every box office weekend. Sometimes those comparisons felt fair. Other times they felt unnecessary. Because Marvel and DC have always told different types of stories. Marvel heroes often begin as ordinary people, placed with extraordinary situations. DC heroes often begin as symbols, legends, almost mythological figures. Neither approach is wrong. They're simply different. Perhaps the best thing James Gunn can do is stop trying to compete with Marvel and instead allow DC to become its own thing. One thing I hope fans remember is that building a shared universe takes time. The Marvel Cinematic Universe didn't become what it is overnight. It required years of storytelling, successful films, unexpected failures, course corrections, characters earning the audience's trust. James Gunn deserves the opportunity to tell his story, whether people love or dislike the direction. It should be determined after the films have had the chance to speak for themselves. Looking ahead, there are still many questions. Will audiences embrace another Superman? Will two different Batmans confuse viewers or simply offer two unique experiences? Can the Justice League eventually return? Will the new universe feel connected without becoming overwhelming? Those answers will arrive one film at a time. And perhaps that's the best way to experience this new chapter. Not worrying about 10 years from now, simply enjoying the story being told today. Comic books have always changed. Heroes are reimagined. Writers come and go. Universes restart. Costumes change. Origins are rewritten. Yet somehow Batman still remains Batman. Superman still reminds us to hope. Wonder Woman still inspires. These characters survive. Perhaps that's their greatest superpower. Not flying, not incredible strength, nor detective skills, but the ability to remain relevant for generation after generation, no matter who tells the story. And that brings us to tonight's discussion. Thank you for spending part of your evening here with me on Pixels and Playbooks ASMR. Whether you're excited for James Gunn's new universe, prefer the Snyder era, love Matt Reeves' Batman, or simply enjoy discussing comic book movies, I hope this video gave you a chance to relax for a little while. And hopefully the next time I film myself playing Injustice 2, I'll remember more than 3 combos. Although, judging by tonight's performance against Atrocitus, I probably shouldn't make any promises. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know what you'd like to see next. Until next time, take care, stay safe, and remember, whether you're Batman, Superman, sometimes the greatest battle is simply finding the right direction. Have a great night.